Hi everybody. So let's say you've decided you want a Jeep Gladiator and you know it. Now next step, which trim do you get? Well, that's the question we're looking to answer in this video. So right here on my right, we have the Jeep Gladiator Overland. This is an on-road focused truck. On my left, the Jeep Gladiator Rubicon, clearly an off-road focused truck. So first, we'll go through all the differences between these two, and then we gotta talk price, because this is the cheap Jeep, this is the expensive Jeep, but you might be surprised to find out how big the price gap between these two actually is. So let's do it. So let's start off with the exterior, and actually most of the differences are functional. They're not just for style, they're for off-roading. So first of all, the bumpers. There's the Overland bumper. It's plastic and it is one piece. However, you still do get recovery hooks, even on the Overland. They're a little buried in the snow, but you can see them there. Happy to see that there are still recovery hooks there. Now over here on the Rubicon though, not only do we get recovery hooks, they are red. That is just a style thing, but this is a steel bumper and these caps actually pop off. You can see some of the screws there, the Torx bits. So you can pull those caps off, which just means that you're gonna have nothing in front of your tire impeding it and help with your approach. Now next up, these wheel fender flares. So you can see the flares on the Overland there, don't really leave a lot of space for more tire or more wheel. Whereas on the Rubicon, they're big, high arch fender flares. They accommodate this bigger set of tires, and they're ready to accommodate a set of 35s. And another little thing up front is right there. That is the trail cam. It is a front-facing camera, which you can get on the Rubicon, which will run in your off-road pages and actually allow you to see the trail in front of you. Over here on the Overland, we have no such thing. So now here's one of the biggest differences, absolutely, the tires themselves. So here on our Ruby, we have a set of Falcon Wild Peak ATs, a fairly aggressive set of all-terrain tires. We ran this thing through some pretty thick water and mud, and nothing could slow it down at all. Now over here on our Overland, much more on-road focused, a set of Bridgestone Duelers. Now these are Dueler HTs, so they're slightly more aggressive than maybe your standard on-road tire, because this is a Jeep after all. Now another thing on the tires, over here on the Rubicon, you're getting more tire. These things are bigger and they're wrapped around 17-inch wheels, so you have way more sidewall. Oh, on the Overland, you're getting 18-inch wheels, so you're getting less sidewall and therefore not quite as good off-road, and a little bit less soft on-road as well, actually. So let's keep on walking over this Rubicon. Now, of course, you do get these nice hood decals letting you know it's a Rubicon. Nothing like that on the Overland. Both of these trucks get the trail rated badges. You can see it over there on the fender of that Jeep. Now, moving back, and I guess we'll actually go over to the passenger side for this. There is a clear difference down below the doors, and that is the Rubicon has a rock rail. That is not a step, that is just a rock rail meant for protection. Switch over to the Overland, and yes, you get a set of actual running boards. They're just plastic, so definitely not there for protection. And once again, one of the big differences, because off-road, you definitely want those rails. On-road, you just don't care that much. And actually, let me show you what I think is the coolest part of the rock rail. It's right there. Jeep actually went to the trouble of protecting the bed corners, because the corners of a bed are just so exposed. Let's flip over to the Overland. Look at those bed corners. When you're coming off of obstacles, they're super exposed to damage and you're just gonna mess them up. So it's pretty cool that on the Rubicon, you're protected all the way back to the corner of your bed. Now that we're back here, let's look at the rear bumpers. So the rear bumper is actually just about identical to the Overland, except on the Ruby you get 2 recovery hooks, whereas on the Overland you're only getting 1 recovery hook on the driver's side. So there is one small difference. Now for the Overland, there's no real big decal letting you know what it is. You're just getting those nice little Overland badges. All right, everybody, almost time to climb inside these two, but first there's something else I need to show you, and it's right in there. So this is the Overland, and you can just see that plain black shock. Now, I'm not even sure who makes the shocks for the regular Jeep. Might be FCA, might be an outside supplier, but you're definitely gonna know who makes the shocks on the Rubicon, because Fox always marks up their shocks real well. So you can see that in there we have a set of Fox shocks. once again, helping this Rubicon off-road. And not only do you get the unique shocks, but the suspension in general, they're tuned differently. So these trucks are definitely gonna ride a bit different. And in my experience with the two of them, in just about every situation, I would actually take the Rubicon. Even towing and with payload, these Fox shocks do a really nice job of keeping things fairly flat and stiff on the road, and then when you get off-road, they actually offer a pretty good amount of absorption. The Overland, I don't know, with load on it, it actually just got stiffer, and riding down the road empty, it's fairly comfortable, but not great. So yeah, in terms of the suspension war, I would definitely have to go with the Rubicon in just about every situation. But why don't we go climb in now and spot some of the interior differences. So first of all, our Rubicon has these really nice tan seats on the black interior, and then of course there's the biggest difference right there. You actually get that unique stitching right in the seats. Now, besides that, there is not a ton different about this off-road model compared to the on-road model. Besides the controls, there are some unique controls here which the other truck does not get, and that's because there's some off-road gear that the other truck does not get. So let me climb in here and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. Now, these are both push-button start. You can see the push button right down there. No more keys in this Jeeps. So let's go ahead and start her up. You do get that unique little startup screen, which is pretty cool here on the Rubicon. And then, like I said, besides these controls over here, everything else here is identical between the two trucks, except for this little red panel. So here in the Rubicon, we have all the off-road goodies. We have front and rear lockers. We have a sway bar disconnect, off-road plus mode, and then that button there gets the lockers off. So this is controlling all the off-road equipment. Not to mention over here, we have an auxiliary switch bank. So if you end up putting aftermarket lights, or I don't know, an aftermarket fridge or an air system, any of those different things that require power, you can wire them up right to these auxiliary switches already installed in your Rubicon, which really is a smart feature. So let's climb out now, and we will go climb in to the Overland and see if we can spot any big differences right off the bat. Now, our Overland has very much a black on black interior, black leather seats, and there's the stitching right there. That tells you which model it is. Now, just like the other one, let's climb in. You can see there, push button start, and we'll turn her on. And that's interesting, so it's a different startup screen here. This truck obviously doesn't say Rubicon, it just brings up that classic Jeep, so you definitely have a bit of a difference there. But besides that, everything is identical here. Same screen, same controls, until you get to right there. Here in the Overland, the spot that the Rubicon uses for its off-road equipment, it's just a little empty storage spot. Now the switch bank is still there. You can still get the aux switches on this truck, which is pretty handy. And of course, this truck still does have a transfer case, so if you want to go ahead and shift her down into 4 low, you can totally do that. But outside of that, there just is not a ton of off-road gear on here. And the other thing too is, if you click on the apps here and we look through the apps, one of the ones that you're not going to see is off-road pages. And that is because off-road pages is also unique to the Rubicon. And I'll show you exactly what it does. So we'll hop in the passenger side now. So you go on your Uconnect infotainment screen, click on apps. Oh, actually look, there's already a shortcut to it. Off-road pages. So let's open this up. And I'll show you some of the pretty cool functionality that Jeep has built right into this Rubicon. So first of all, you can see the status of your drivetrain. So if you have your axles locked, it'll tell you what your sway bar is doing, where your steering wheel is. That one we can actually watch move right here as I turn the wheel. And then this is cool too. You actually get your GPS coordinates and your altitude. So if you really are out in the middle of the bush, well, you can mark down where you were and then get back to that spot. Now next, accessory gauges. This is going to make sure you can sort of track everything that's going on with your vehicle, make sure it's all safe. Pitch and roll, pretty self-explanatory. And then trail cam. So trail cam is a front-facing camera which will be on while you're running down the trail, just to let you see exactly what's right in front of you. It avoids, you know, you running into rocks or roots or stumps that were right under your bumper, you couldn't see them. And it has those dynamic guidelines, so when I turn the steering wheel, it tells you exactly where your front wheels are going to track. Yet another neat feature. And finally, the last neat feature, you can't miss it here, clean camera. Yes, the front camera here has a sprayer, and it will actually spray itself off to keep it clean. All right, now it's time to talk pricing, and we have both build sheets here. So first, we'll start with the Overland. And let me remind you guys once again, these are Canadian prices. So this Overland starts basically at $50,000. Now it does come with quite a few standard features. And then here you can see all the options, and we do have quite a few options on this truck. There's the Uconnect group. The one I think is interesting is right there. The wireless speaker with Bluetooth. That's another $395. I like that little Bluetooth speaker that tucks in behind the seat, but it's a little bit expensive when I can buy a Bluetooth speaker from Walmart for a lot cheaper than that. But anyways, I digress. Total price for this Jeep, $63,235. So I mean, it's not even really fair to call this the cheap Jeep, because it's certainly not cheap. Now let's sub in the Ruby. So, Rubicon 4x4. So here's all the options, and once again, this truck has been optioned up quite a bit. There's another option here I want to point out to you, which I thought was pretty interesting. The steel front bumper, $795, and then the trail cam is an extra $600, bringing our total to $68,050. So basically, there's only $5,000 between these two trucks. So after looking at the build sheets, I don't think it makes the Rubicon look expensive. I think it makes the Overland look expensive, because only for $5 grand more, you're getting this truck. Or at the base level with no options, only $3,000, and you're gonna bump up into a Rubicon. When you come at it from that angle and that context, the Rubicon actually seems like a good deal, because for that money, you're getting the lockers, the sway bar, off-road plus mode. You're really getting some legitimate upgrades, shocks and tires, which you could not do those upgrades to that Overland for the amount of money that Jeep is asking for. So although both of these prices in my books are a little bit expensive, it's a little bit of sticker shock when you see these Gladiators, the Rubicon, when you compare the two, actually comes out looking like a pretty dang good deal. So guys, that's it for this video. Make sure you go below, hit like, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and then come right back here to TFL Off-Road for the latest news, views, and real world reviews. See ya.